riding pants and the black calf-high boots. Romeo cocked his head and grinned. "Did you find a horse in that tent, too?" Greta shot him an exasperated look before the creature that approached uttered another vengeful, ear-splitting cry. All three magicals in the clearing ducked instinctively and covered their ears with their hands before the enormous, unknown beast's roar faded into an ominous echo. The woman nodded at her daughter and the young werewolf, her eyes wide with determination. "This is the part where we run." She almost knocked Lily over as she darted fully out of the tent and raced past the second one toward the brazier on the other side of the clearing. Romeo managed to catch Lily before she stumbled too much off balance, and they stared after the older Optatus witch, intent on setting an example of what she'd meant. "Keep up, and do exactly as I say," Greta called over her shoulder. The forest, barely a few dozen yards behind the woman's tent, rustled with movement, and a few more trees split and were flung aside with a scattering of blue bark and a burst of purple leaves. "That's your plan?" Lily shouted, but her mother didn't slow. "Running sounds good to me." Romeo caught her hand and jerked her forward across the open space after Greta. The young witch lurched across the ground on her bare feet as he pulled her along. She stumbled constantly over the soft purple moss underfoot, and when they reached the edge of the forest, she jerked her hand out of his and stopped. The older woman finally stopped, rolled her eyes, and glanced across to the other side of the clearing where the forest seemed to be systematically shredded by the gargantuan beast that approached. "Do I need to tell Romeo to carry you?" "You know, there actually is such a thing as a stupid question." Lily pointed at the tight, restrictive skirt of the velvet dress she'd been forced to wear at the Black Heron Society's high seat, and a bright yellow light erupted at her fingertip. She drew the razor-sharp spell down the skirt from the middle of her thigh all the way to the hem, and felt much better slicing a giant slit through the stupid garment. "Okay, that's much better." Two huge blue trees toppled on the other side of the open space, and the party whirled as a mottled green fist on an arm the size of a school bus thrust through the opening created by the destruction. Without another word, Greta launched into a sprint between the trees. The young couple followed, and Lily had no problem keeping up with the pace her mom set this time. The trunks very quickly grew closer and closer together the farther they moved. The monster behind them cried out again, but the sound cut off in mid-bellow before the pounding footsteps increased to surprising speed. "Stay away from the red!" the older woman shouted, and turned sharply left through the thickening forest. "The red what?" Romeo glanced around them quickly before he and Lily followed the new path. "Anything. Basically anything that is the color red." "Like that giant red door in the middle of the forest?" Lily pointed as they ran past. "Especially that. Hurry!" The young witch cast a fleeting glance at the red door through the trees. It seemed to hang suspended without hinges or a supporting wall, while glittering flecks of gold light sparkled around its stark outline. Something behind it beckoned her to come in and take a look for herself, but the next tree she passed blocked her view. She shook the odd sensation out of her head and continued to run. Greta hurdled a few fallen tree trunks covered in purple moss. Romeo had no issue getting over them either, but the shreds of Lily's emerald dress snagged on the jagged edges of broken limbs and slowed her. "Wait!" He spun and saw her stuck on the fallen trunk immediately before he saw the trees they'd passed seconds before knock against each other. Most of them fell where they stood, but one of them sailed through the forest and lodged itself in the higher branches of its fellows. The werewolf bounded back toward the log, caught her by the waist, and lifted her up and over. The dress tore with a loud ripping sound before he settled her on her feet, and they raced away after her mom. On their right, tiny orbs of red light floated in a dispersing stream like bubbles from a bubble machine. Lily found the source. A brilliant, blood-red flower the size of a basketball that opened to release the tiny spheres of light.